So Matt, thank you very much for joining us for this More Fuzz interview. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thank you very much for your time to do this interview, and yeah, let's get it started.
All right. So just to introduce you a bit for our viewers that wouldn't know you, you are Matthias Vandeven. You are the founder of Sound of Liberation. Sound of Liberation you started it in 2005, and it has become a cornerstone of the European stoner scene. You are organizing tours in Europe for more than 40 bands from all over the world. And you have very prestigious names in your rosters like Color Haze, Brand Bjork, Orange Goblin, Wofat, Truck Fighters, Lowrider, and many, many more. You also organize or partner with many of the reference stoner festivals in Europe, such as the Desertfest, Berlin and Antwerp, Stone from the Underground, the Up It Smoke Festival, and others. And when you're not working with Sound of Liberation, you are also the bassist for My Sleeping Karma, which is to my humble which is according to me one of the best bands out there, and it's always a pleasure to see you live. So you started Sound of Liberation on your own, correct? Back in 2005. So can you tell us a bit about how it started, how it grew, and what it is today?
Yeah, I think it's very easy. 2005, there was a small, let's say, scene for that heavy or stoner rock European, small European world. There was bands out like Color Haze, for example, and we had a band before My Sleeping Karma, which was called The Great Escape, and so we tried to organize first mini shows in small venues or in pubs where you need to bring your own PA and try to play our music. And in East Germany, there was already existing also a very nice scene in towns like Jena, in Dresden, of course, in Berlin. And over the years it became a small network of DIY promoters, of bands who are organizing concerts for other bands in exchange. And that's pretty much how it all started. And over the years, it grew more and more the attention of fans, and there was the chance to spread out that sound more and more all over, first all over Germany and later on all over Europe. So it was, let's say, all growing organically from a DIY scene or from some very motivated DIY promoters.
Okay, but today I think there are, correct me if I'm wrong, but 4 people working in Sound of Liberation.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so how did it grow? How did it grow that way? If you can summarize it for us a bit,
Yeah, I mean it grew all. Once we were able, or the bands were able to have more gigs and more shows and bringing the sound to new cities, to other cities, then it was quite an organic growing of a fan scene, and more fans and more people wanted to listen to that sound and wanted to get closer to the bands and wanted to be part of the scene. So it was all like growing very naturally and very slowly, but that was the right way to do it. And now 15 years later, we are 4 people, but I think speaking for myself, I worked for 10 years on my own together with my wife, trying to organize these first European tours. And it feels like with the more festivals happening and the growing of the scene, then of course things became easier, and then we were able to start festivals like a Desertfest or Up in Smoke, and yeah, that became a bit, let's say, successful in a way that people like to go and travel to these festivals and spread the words. And yeah, so we had the chance to grow our small company, and now we have with Kat and Lara two motivated women who are taking care of the booking for the almost 40 bands we are working with right now.
Can you tell us a bit more about how you become involved with the Desertfest? The Desertfest is now, let's say, so just for people who don't know, maybe there are two Desertfests happening at the same time in London and Berlin early May.
Exactly.
Well, except this year, of course. And there's one happening in late in the middle of October in Antwerp, in Belgium. Yeah. So and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the ones that started are actually London, and then the others followed. And I know Sound of Liberation is heavily involved in those two festivals. So can you tell us a bit more about how you've got involved and how they were created, Berlin and Antwerp?
Yeah. So basically, 10 years ago, we started the Desertfest in London and Berlin at the same time. That was the first festivals which were happening. It was based on my good friend, the promoter of Desertfest in London, Reese, called me up one day with that idea of having a kind of European partner festival in two capital cities of Europe, so London in the UK and Berlin for Germany. Yeah, and I liked the idea, and we pretty much worked on it for quite some time, and then we started the first Desertfest in London in Berlin, and around 3 years later we added the Desertfest in Belgium in Antwerp to it, because we felt it was the right time and the right people to have another Desertfest in Europe. And for the people who have been at Desertfest Belgium, I think it's also a nice addition to the Desertfest family. So we are quite happy now to have these 3 European festivals.
Yeah, because what's particular with Desertfest London and Berlin is that they are on the same weekend, and so they share the
lineup.
They share most of the lineup, and they share the headliners, the biggest bands. So I guess that was one of the reasons that you could make it happen, right? Share the weight and book artists for 2 dates in the same weekend, and
yeah, it's quite more attractive for, let's say, the international headliners to come over to Europe if they know they have two headlining festival shows on the same weekend in a reachable distance. So that was the idea about it, yeah. But we are not every year at the same weekend. Sometimes we are 1 week apart from each other. That all depends on the availability of the venues. But most of the bands nowadays, they book anyway a tour around it, so they not come just exclusive for one or another date. So it doesn't really matter if we are exactly on the same weekend or if we are 1 or 2 weekends apart from each other.
All right. So, of course, 2020 has been a very particular year for all people living around music. No festivals have been happening. So, how have you been keeping up personally and Sound of Liberation? And do you foresee any long-term impacts on your activity?
These are the good questions we are almost asking us daily. When will this nightmare be over? I mean, speaking for the entire music business, it's a super hard situation for everybody. So I don't want to go specifically into our terms. That's the same for for all other companies. And I think the smaller they are, the more difficult it gets. The bigger ones maybe have the financial power to survive such clashes better than the smaller ones. But all in all, it was a very, very hard year. We have, as you know, the booking happens like 6 months to 1 year in advance. So we have worked for all this. And in the end, we couldn't have any income. And we needed to go on working. We needed to give tickets back. We needed to cancel. We needed to postpone tour. And again, you have no income. And then there was no government support. So in the end, you are getting in that kind of, in a kind of depressing modus. And you think like, what the fuck are we doing? Like we are canceling and postponing a tour now the third or fourth or fifth time. And it's very, very demotivating. The good thing on Sound of Liberation is we have such a super cool team, a young, enthusiastic team, and we stick quite close together and trying to survive this crisis and go on doing our thing. But without any live music and without any touring bands and without any festival and events, it's very hard to survive as a booking and event company.
I guess so. And I guess you don't have a lot of visibility on 2021 as well.
No, I mean, let's look the situation today. Half of the world is in a complete lockdown. Everybody knows this lockdown will go on for another month, maybe another 2 months. Now everybody's speaking about Easter. To say it again, we need 6 to 9 months, sometimes 1 year to prepare a tour. Let's be realistic. We will not see much European or American bands doing European tours in 2021. I think we can almost focus on 2022. Hope that things getting a little better on in the summertime, maybe with some smaller festivals with social distancing. Maybe some first stuff can happen in the fall, but honestly, the foresigns are not so good and everything is not looking really promising. And I personally think it will not change. Things will not change.
I'm afraid 2021 is going to be difficult too. But we see a lot of, well, as you said, the first, at first many shows and tours were just postponed 1 year, so from April to April. But now we're seeing some tours being organized in September, October. So fingers crossed. But we have to keep realistic, as you say.
I mean, it's very hard. Let's be honest. It's super hard to. I don't know. When do you want to start to promote the tour for the fall? Who is ready to buy flight tickets from somewhere and to book vans and to get organized if you don't know that pandemic situation is really under control or is over? It doesn't help anybody if a band has 2 shows and then 3 off days because there's another hotspot somewhere in some countries. So therefore, the music business is too. It's too difficult and the money is too tight and too short to really going on the risk. So I think everybody will more focus on the long term, and we might have some local shows happening, local tours happening, but I don't think we can expect big European tours as it has been before. We'll see. Let's hope the best.
Yes, that's a bit depressing to hear from the inside, but at least it's realistic, right?
Yeah. I mean, we all not have a crystal ball, but yeah, it's better to stay realistic. So we had some dreams last year that thing goes away very fast and that we can maybe do something in the fall 2020 or in the winter 2020. So now we are in January 2021. Situation even got worse. More infected people, more dead people. So be realistic.
So right now, you are basically in waiting mode, or do you have some things planned out for Sound of Liberation in the coming, well, not months, but I say, are you preparing for 2022 now, or?
I mean, of course, we started directly prepare ours when the last year situation happened, like cancellation of Desertfest Berlin. We started directly to work on the lineup and the edition 2021. So now it seems we need to go on and postpone and working and doing the same thing again in the hope that 2022 goes better. So that's just a fact for Desertfest Berlin, but also for our 15-year Sound of Liberation, which we had planned in for the summertime and all the other events and all the other tours.
Okay. Right. So so the question then, I guess, it what keeps you going now after 1 year of nothingness, interrogation, and then you're probably going for 1 more year?
The answer is pretty simple. We started that out of passion and of love for the music, and that is what we like to do. That is what we love. That is what we live for. That is what we burn for. So it will take a long time to get that spirit away. So we keep on doing our thing. We are preparing for the next year. At one point, there will be shows back, live music back, bands back on tour, and then we can hopefully all have good times again together in front of the stage and with some beers in the hand and in a way better mood. So that's what keeps us going. The fans, the bands, the scene, our entire life.
Well, that's what we want to hear, right? and I hope it will come sooner rather than later.
Yes.
I wanted also to ask you about your because I'm French. Full disclosure, I'm French. Your relationship with Garmonbozia, because all the tours organized by Sound of Liberation are in the end given to Garmonbozia in France. So how old is that, and how did it happen, and how does it keep going?
We work with Fred, Lorraine, and the entire team since many years. Actually, I'm not 100% sure when it started, but it might be a first Up in Smoke nightliner tour or something like that, where the French club show was organized by Garmonbozia because they showed interest in having that package, and they had the idea of the right venue and how to park a nightliner and do this bigger production. And for us, 10 years ago, everything was very new. We didn't know how that full thing works with bigger packaging tours and nightliner tours. And so I think we had this Paris show. I don't know exactly the venue anymore. Nouveau Casino or something like that. I think it was in Paris before the Divan du Monde. And we had a great hospitality, and Fred and Lorraine really took care, and they showed up. And of course, for us, it was easy because Lorraine speaks German, and now it was a German production, I think, with Color Haze and Roto as bands, and us as me and Wolf as tour management. And so it was quite easy to break the ice. Also, besides the business, we had good talks, and we continued that relationship, and that turned into a nice friendship. And I think it was 2018. The guys had their 20th anniversary of Garmonbozia, and we played there with My Sleeping Karma and had a very good time and a very big hangover. So if Fred and Lorraine sees this,
shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to them. À bientôt, les amis.
And actually, I remember, I think the last time I saw My Sleeping Karma on stage was actually for the 20 years of Garmonbozia in Rennes.
Yeah.
you were there, and a short while later you stopped playing on you stopped playing because your drummer Stefan was undergoing some treatment.
Yeah.
But you were back on stage this summer. You played a few festivals, for example, Pulp in Switzerland. So how is Stefan doing, and how does it feel to be back on to have been back on stage at least a bit this summer?
I mean, to be honest, the situation was very shocking for all of us. The last show we have played before Stefan learned about his illness, that was actually the Hellfest. So we played this big show at Hellfest, and we had a good time. And pretty much on the way home, he got the call about his some bad results he got from the doctor, and he needed to start a treatment immediately. And of course, that was a big shock for him and his family, and also for us as a band, as friends. We are, like myself, I'm playing together with Stefan for more than 20 years now. We had a band before My Sleeping Karma, and we are kind of brothers, of course, with Seppi as well. So we know each other like almost from childhood or from our youth, and was a very, very hard situation. Which luckily got better, and we were able to play a few shows this summer. There was not many festivals happening because of the pandemic situation, but we were fortunate enough to play, I think, 3 festival shows, 3 or 4 shows. And after, let's say, 14 months, 15 months of no live activity, which was completely new for us because we have always been trying to play live as much as possible with our jobs and our families. It felt great to be back on stage again, and even if it was with social distancing and with all these masks and weird setups, we had such a great time, and we felt the spirit is back, and we felt alive, and it feels like we are going through these shocking moments. And we started also to work again on a new album, which we have already delayed 3 times because of different situations. First family issues, and then Stefan's problem, and then a lockdown with social distancing, which we had now back in March. And right now it's again a lockdown. We are not able to meet. And so Stefan decided to go on with his treatment. So it actually means we are right now on a pause again, and we hope that things will be better for him and for us as a band, and of course for all of us, late spring or in the summertime. And hopefully we will be able to do some shows later on in 2021. But
that would be great, and of course we wish him a full recovery. And it would be a pleasure to see you back on stage. And I actually was there at Hellfest too, so rain was not the last.
yeah, so like I said, I hope we can, if Stefan feels better, we can go working on the album. If there's no chance to play live, we will go on recording the new album, and hopefully we can all see us soon again at a stage, in front of a stage, in a venue, at a festival, with some real live music.
I know I'm the interviewer here, but not the interviewee, but I have to tell you, I think the first time I saw My Sleeping Karma was in Paris at Divan du Monde, Add Up in Smoke with Color Haze.
Yeah.
I was it was in 2016, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of my first live shows after Bataclan.
Yeah.
And it was really great to be there. It was a great moment.
Yeah. We always like to tour with the Color Haze guys, because we know them since very, very long. And going back to your first question, it was one of the first bands I started booking shows, and I invited them to play in our hometown, and we became friends, and we are from Bavaria, the same area in Germany, so we always had a kind of close relationship, and we found out that touring with them was easy. Everybody got along with each other, so we did quite some tours together and always had good memories of it, good times.
Yes, and we also learned recently from Colorado that their bassist Philip was leaving the band, so we wish him well too, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. So we had Mario Dali a short while ago here at Morphers, and he committed a little indiscretion by telling us they were trying to plan at least a Yawning Man Colorado tour this autumn in Europe. So I guess you are involved in that. So still waiting, I guess, to see if it's going to be possible.
I think the tour is pretty much booked. We postponed many dates from last October into October 2021. So at the moment, it's all planned for Color Haze and Yawning Man having, like, I don't know, around 2 weeks together. I think there's shows also reserved in France. I'm not exactly sure in which cities exactly. I would need to check on that, but as soon as we can announce something when this situation is getting any better, we will try to announce the tour. And of course, everybody will be smart enough and understand, okay, this is what we all wish for and what we all hope for. I really don't think before summer we can finally know if something can happen in the fall season or if it needs to be postponed again. But it is still in planning. And speaking of Yawning Man, I think it's easily a 4 weeks tour for them. So they would join dates with Color Haze, but they will have shows on their own. And so I hope for the guys that they can be busy. And of course, I hope for us we can be busy as well.
Well, we certainly hope so. All right. Well, thank you very much. If you want to add anything, feel free to.
Yeah, of course, I would like to thank everybody who's listening to that right now, and all the people in general who supported us over the last 15 years since we started with Sound of Liberation. Especially thanks to many people who supported us during this crazy period in our business. It was supposed to be our 15 years anniversary year with many shows and special events and many tours. So in the end, it was all blown up in smoke. But many people supported us, wrote us nice messages, SMS, emails, social medias. Many ordered in our small internet shop, which we have started to generate a bit of income as well. And I really hope we can see you all very soon, bringing the Fuzz back on stage for you guys. And thanks again for your support, and especially to the many friends and followers in France for our band My Sleeping Karma, and also for Sound of Liberation. It's always a pleasure to play in your country. I'm not speaking about Hellfest only, all the club shows we did, all the touring we did, always great hospitality, always enthusiastic crowd, and we can't wait to be back.
So well, thank you very much. Yes,
all of you stay healthy.
Yeah,
we hope to see you soon.
And we wish to a good year 2021.
German beer, okay? No crow.
for once. And yes, I wanted to remind everyone that you opened that you mentioned it, but I will remind everyone that you opened a shop, merchandise shop on your website.
Yes.
Put the link in the description, and you have a lot of merch from your different festivals, and you also have a great vinyl collections and even some tapes, so CD and tapes. So if you want to support Son of Liberation, you can do it via buying merchandise on their web shop.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Matt, for being with us, and we wish you a great evening, and we hope to see you soon, either as an organizer or on stage.
Thank you very much to you guys. Merci à vous. And yeah, let's keep it more fuzz. We see you soon.